sentenced over the drowning of Alan Kurdi and 5 others.
Everyone's desperate to get out of this situation.
Workers take down shelters in migrant camp known as the Jungle. Police are searching for a TTC employee facing charges of child pornography. He's described as armed and dangerous.
Hi, and welcome to Humber News. I'm Veronica Appia, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. 2 Syrian smugglers involved in the drowning of Alan Kurdi and 4 other migrants have been sentenced to 4 years in jail. The men were sentenced in Turkish court this morning. The image of 3-year-old Alan Kurdi's body on the Turkish shore sparked global awareness of the migrant crisis in September 2015. Kurdi drowned along with his mother and brother while en route to Greece by boat. The president of the European Union Council is visiting Turkey today to discuss dealing with the crisis before the European Union summit on Monday. The situation is getting worse for migrants leaving the Calais camp known as the Jungle.
Everyone's desperate to get out of this situation. You know, it was temporarily quite safe here.
Demolition of the refugee camp began on Monday after a judge upheld a government order to evict migrants from the southern part of the camp. French authorities are currently providing migrants with shipping containers to use for housing. Migrants who remain in the camp are hoping to eventually cross the Channel into Britain. The US-led NATO alliance has started patrols in the Aegean Sea to stop the smuggling of refugees into Europe. The mission is expected to be fully operational before the EU-Turkey summit next week. Vessels and a helicopter are conducting surveillance in hopes of sealing the maritime border. The focus is on the boatloads of migrants traveling between Turkey and Greece, and the mission uses a variety of surveillance technology.
We use the full spectrum of the ship's sensors, for example, the radar to detect small migrant boats coming from Turkey to the Greek islands, visual observation, and of course our helicopter.
NATO says it will stop only migrant boats that are in distress. Here at home, Toronto police are on the lookout for a TTC employee who allegedly has access to child porn. Police say 47-year-old Darren Padilla, formerly known as Darren Late, faces 2 counts of possession of child porn and accessing child pornography. Police conducted a search warrant yesterday and alleged the suspect stored images and videos of child porn on a computer. Padilla is described as 5'11" and 190 pounds. Police say he's armed and dangerous and should not be approached. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. To the Republican primary race now.
Gentlemen, you gotta do better than this.
This guy has the #1
Mr. Trump, may I ask you, Mr. Trump, I'd like to ask you a policy question. Your proposed tax cut.
That's why the people in Florida do not like him.
Another day, another rowdy Republican debate. Frontrunner Donald Trump found himself in the crosshairs of Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz last night in Detroit. Rubio and Cruz attacked Trump on his policies, saying they weren't conservative. Not one to shy from a fight, Trump fired back, calling Rubio Little Marco, and he responded to Rubio's personal attacks earlier this week.
Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
Hi. Hosted by Fox News, the debate was the first time since August that Trump and reporter Megyn Kelly were in the same room. 5 states vote for their Republican representative on Saturday. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered his country to be ready to use nuclear weapons at any time. Kim made the comments during military exercises that involved newly developed rocket launchers. State media says he stressed the need to have nuclear warheads ready to be fired at any moment. Meanwhile, in South Korea, the president is urging the North to give up its nuclear program during a ceremony for graduating cadets. The United Nations Security Council has tightened existing restrictions on North Korea after its nuclear test last month. 2 police officers are dead and at least 30 injured after a car bomb attack in Turkey early this morning. Police say the attack was carried out by Kurdish militants in the southeastern province of Mardin. It caused serious damage to a police station and neighboring houses in a town near the Syrian border. Security reinforcements and emergency services were called to the scene. Kurdish militants have also claimed responsibility for other recent attacks against Turkey's security forces. Police are clashing with protesters in Venezuela following a court ruling. Activists hurled rocks and Molotov cocktails at police in protest of the High Court's decision. Some protesters stood with signs demanding the president resign. The court decision limits the opposition's power to review appointments of Supreme Court justices. The opposition party has vowed to find a way to constitutionally oust the president within 6 months. To the U.S. now, where a Georgia cashier has managed to fight off an armed robber. In an attempted robbery, this young man pulled a gun on a store clerk while paying for a drink in Burke County, Georgia. The cashier swatted him away, and when he tried to take the cash box, she grabbed it and hit it into his head. She then proceeded to slam the robber into the counter multiple times. When he tried to run away, she chased him with a hammer. Campaigns for the Humber students' federal election wrap up today. Humber News brought in 2 presidential hopefuls on Thursday to talk about their platforms. Our reporter Kelsey Coles has all the details.
With the Humber Students Federation election happening next week, presidential candidates Ahmed Tahir and Joel Calderola spoke with Humber News about their campaign platforms. Recent topics surrounding the election split both candidates right down the middle when it came down to transit, parking spots, and food services on campus. One of the students' biggest concerns was food options on campus, which both candidates plan to review.
I think this past year what we've done is started a food committee with Chartwell. So we meet with them once every couple months to go over what we feel about certain things.
At times there aren't enough options. Hours aren't always the greatest for food services. And I think we could be pushing back against them a little more.
Vice President of Student Life, Amar Abdul Rahim, says parking at the college needs to be looked at.
When you're there sitting and waiting for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then you're expected to pay $7 is frankly ludicrous.
That's not something that's going to be fixed next year. We're not going to have a parking garage for fall 2016, as much as everyone would love that.
Tahir is also looking towards a U-Pass for commuters in hopes of cutting down the number of drivers to the college.
Number one is to have a U-Pass. Really, that's a big part of it, because what that does is it gets more people who live maybe 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away, to take the bus instead if it's easier.
Calderola, on the other hand, is opposed to Tahir's U-Pass suggestion.
In reality, I'm not sure it quite checks out. He detailed it as about a $300 increase in expenses at our last debate. And while that is a great thing for students who have to commute, we have to consider the fact that there are a lot of students who don't commute.
While there may be a difference in experience between the candidates,
it wasn't a desire to continue working with the HSF because I'd never worked with them that made me want to take part in this. It was a desire as a student to see things improve.
They both say big changes will happen if elected.
What I came to realize really is that substantial, meaningful change happens like day to day. You need to change habits of people in the organization. You need to change structures and processes.
HSF voting polls open next week. Kelsey Coles, Humber News.
When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports, and Ashley Jagpal will have your 3-day forecast.
It seems like the cold just doesn't want to leave us. Winter is holding on with a tight grip that we just can't quite seem to get rid of. But it's warming up over the weekend, so be optimistic. I'll have your full weather update after the break.
But for now, we leave you with this, some big news from a galaxy far, far away. Astronomers have captured an image of the most distant galaxy ever found by the Hubble telescope. They say it's more than 13 billion light years away. This animation shows how distant the galaxy is. It shows the Big Dipper, then moves past Ursa Major and on into deepest space. Scientists say it was formed about 300 million years after the Big Bang, and that we're actually seeing the galaxy in its infancy.